Hey guys, how's it going? I thought I'd just make this video today because a few days ago I had someone come into my chat and ask me a question. They said that they have never played WoW before and they would like to get into it, but they have a concern. Now, their concern was that they had to, or they thought you had to be in a guild to be able to enjoy the experience and be able to play the game. Now, before I say what I told them, I thought it'd be better to go from the start. So, mate, I want to just kind of go into a bit more like description, I would say, a bit more helpful information for people that want to start playing the game. But it can be it can be a bit overwhelming coming into a game like this. So, the beginning I would start from is, or this is what I told the person as well. So you have two main versions of the game. You have retail and you have classic era. So retail is a more of a, the way I would describe it is more of a fast-paced leveling experience. The game is designed to get you from level 1 to the max level as quick as possible. Gear's pretty easy to come by, things like that. The quests give you a bunch of XP. Uh, Things like gold you get pretty quickly, and dungeons. So apart from questing, you got dungeons. In retail, dungeons are pretty easy. You have a thing called Dungeon Finder, which you just search for a dungeon you want to do, and they will do all the work for you. It will find the people to go into the dungeon with, and it will even take you straight to the dungeon. So you got that's the two main ways I would say of leveling is questing or dungeons. Most people, well, I do a mixture of both when I level. But once you hit the max level in retail, that's when a lot more things open up, and some people would even say that's when the game actually begins. So once you hit max level, you have things like raids and Mythic Plus dungeons, which you kind of do to get your best gear, like your best in slot. If that's not your thing, if you're not the kind of person that likes to grind out for your gear, there's other options you have. Like if you're into collecting things, there's a few things you can collect and do. For example, you have mounts. If you like to collect mounts, that's the thing you can do. Some you get from raids, which are rare drops. Some you can buy from vendors. Some are rare spawns out in the world of Azeroth. So things like that you can do. You also have transmogs, which are if you like to dress up or like customize your character, things like that. These are appearances you can collect. And once you collect them, it's a permanent thing. You go into like a wardrobe kind of thing, and you can customize your character. If you're not into that, there's also pets. Pets are little companions that follow you around. And in retail, they also can be used for pet battles, which is basically a turn-based system like Pokemon. Your pet, you have like three pets, and you battle other people's pets or wild pets and things like that. So there's a few things. There's other things like professions you can get into and things like that in retail. But yeah, there's a lot to do, I'd say, end game for retail. Now on the other side of that, you have classic era. Now classic era is a lot slower when it comes to leveling. It's supposed to be a more slow but enjoyable leveling experience. There are a few things you can do to make this quicker if you do want to level to 60 as quick as possible. There are a few things you can do to make it quicker, but in general it is a lot slower. But the quests, You know, they are quite, some of them can be quite fun to do. Some of them are a bit tedious, like farming mobs to drop a certain quest item could take forever. But most of the time, you know, it is enjoyable. And at the same time, again, like in retail, you have dungeons, but in classic, it's not as easy to get into a dungeon. So in classic, you have to run to the dungeon yourself, and you have to find a group yourself. So there's an option. You've got two options of doing it. You can either create your own group full of the people that you need, or you can look for a group that someone else is making and join that group. But you can do this in the chat channel. There's a looking for group chat channel, and you can just say, hey, I'm looking for a group, or I'm looking for people to join my group. So there's ways to find people. Or if you're playing in the anniversary realms of Classic, Blizzard have put in a option to, so it's basically a group finder. It doesn't work like Dungeon Finder. It basically, you just list a dungeon or a quest or something you want to do, and you post it on like this bulletin kind of like board thing. People can see it and say, hey, I would like to join, or they will invite you to their group and things like that. Once you do hit 60, actually, before I get to that, during your leveling, you have professions as well. Professions will make, depending on your class as well, it can really make your leveling experience a lot easier, especially if like a warrior. If you want to do like engineering is really good. First aid's also really good too. I'd say cooking maybe for food buffs. But yeah, there's a lot of professions are a lot more impactful, I'd say, during your leveling experience in Classic. So those are also something worth picking up and doing. Now, when you do hit 60, there is not, I would say, not as much to do as retail. So you could do, once you're 60, finish up your professions, max them out if you haven't already. You can then, you know, try and get some mounts. I don't think there is many mounts in Classic though. And then mostly is gearing up to get your raid done. So you get your pre-raid gear, like your bested slot pre-raid gear, your entombments, which you need to get into certain raids, and things like that. And then eventually you have the raids that you do weekly, grinding out your actual bested slot gear. Other than that, in Classic, that is about it for the end game, because there's not, you know, what is Classic, so once you hit end game, that's it. When retail, once you hit end game, you know, they release expansions and new content and things like that. There's always like a step after. Classic, once you hit end game, that's about it. Unless you're playing Anniversary Realm, it will continue to DBC, maybe Lich King. But, you know, there isn't as much. But it's still, I wouldn't say it's not fun. It is still quite fun to do. Now, so picking your character for leveling, there's a few options. If I can, let me just, I can show you. We'll log out. So you got your create a new character. So if it's your first time playing, this would be your first time. This is what will pop up straight away. Basically, is creating a character. There's a few options. So you have your race options and you have your class options. Not all races can play all classes. My advice for a new player would be just click through the races, look at all this information on the side, and whatever you think sounds cool or looks cool, just go for that. Some classes will benefit different things better. For example, a gnome would always benefit being a mage. Like they have passives that help with being a mage, or a warlock. But I would say just go for whatever you think looks cool, sounds fun, and pick that one. And the same for the classes. Now there are certain classes leveling and then endgame will be better than others. For example, warriors, if you want to be a tank, they're pretty much like the best option for a tank. But leveling a warrior isn't fun. I do it. I love playing a warrior, but it can be torture at certain times. It can be a pain. I would say maybe for a beginner, if you do want a bit of an easier experience, paladins are quite good. So if you're going to play, say you're on the alliance side, paladins are quite good. They have options of being a healer, a tank, DPS. They have like self heals, good defenses. Their attack's pretty good too, like their damage output. So for leveling wise, these are pretty good. And you get a given amount, so you save a bit of money on that too. I would say warlocks are pretty easy to level. If you like playing like a caster, maybe. And then the other one would be a hunter, which is you can either hunters are restricted to either night elves or dwarves. But hunters, they have pets, so the pet goes in, does damage, takes most of the damage, and you just basically can sit back with a gun or a bow and do your damage. So they are also pretty easy to play as. If you want to play as a horde, I didn't play much horde, so I don't have much experience with it. But if you do want to play, so they have their class. So horde doesn't have paladins, but they have shamans instead. So you can play as a shaman if you think that's interesting. I think they're restricted to, actually there's a few options I would say. You got orc, tauren, and troll. So 3 people can play as a shaman. I was going to say paladin, a shaman. But again, even though I said certain classes are hard, some are easier, it could be the easiest class to play, but you just won't have fun playing it, and it will ruin your experience. So again, look through the classes. There's a description down here for all these classes. Read it, see what you think sounds cool, and go from there. Now there's some other things you can do. So once you're leveling, I would advise, just go around, grab quests, do them, just explore the world, absorb everything that the game has to offer, and just soak it in, have fun. It's just the best way to play the game. Now there are options if you do feel a bit overwhelmed or you're just struggling with certain things in the game. There are options for add-ons. Now, I wouldn't recommend for a new player to use too many add-ons. If anything, there's one add-on that's really helpful, which is called Questy. It just clears up your quests, shows where the mobs, like quest locations are and things like that. So it does make questing a bit easier for people that do get overwhelmed. I'm one of them, to be honest. When I jump into a big game like this and everything's kind of chucked in my face, it does stress me out a bit. But I wouldn't recommend just trying it at first to just absorb everything. Just play the game how you want to play it and have fun. In Classic, you do have quite a nice leveling experience in terms of quite a lot of the time there are other people around questing, so you get to have fun interactions with these people. They are there to help. You can ask them to help with quests if you're struggling with quests, or you can just help grind out some mobs if you're trying to just level up. They can also, it's always just fun interactions to have with people. You don't really get that as much in retail. Now, if you do want to go to the side of add-ons, like you've tried out Questy, you've had a look at some others, and you're like, oh, this is nice, go ahead and try them. If people do want to go to the side of add-ons, I do have a few videos on add-ons. But I can, if people would like, make a longer video on that and maybe going a bit more in depth in certain add-ons if that's something people would like. But again, I would recommend just playing it and having fun. Now, to the question that the person in chat asked about guilds. So I said no. So you don't have to be in a guild to be able to enjoy the game and play it. But I will say, in certain situations, having a guild can make things a bit easier. Things can go a bit more smooth. For example, let's say dungeons. So if you want to do a dungeon and you got a relatively big guild, there's usually always someone there, like one or two people also wanting to do the dungeon you're about to do. Or if they don't want to do it, they don't mind helping out with it. So that's always helpful. An end game, again with the raids. Having a guild will help with raids. Now, the person's concern with the guild is they've seen some stuff where the guilds can be quite stressful, a bit strict, a bit hardcore. There are guilds out there that aren't, they're a bit more chilled, a bit more laid back. So it's just, if you're the kind of person that likes to get the grind on, go hard, maybe a hardcore guild for you would be good. If you're someone that just likes to have fun, enjoy things, a bit more laid back, there are guilds that also do that as well. So you don't have to be in a guild, but if you do see a guild that you like the look of, don't be afraid to, ask to join, things like that. So that is, I think, everything I kind of wanted to cover for beginners. If there's anything I missed or anything I haven't described that you would like me to go into a bit more in depth, leave a comment. I can reply to the comment, or if I get quite a few people asking the same question, I'll probably again make a video similar to this, just going into a bit more detail to help you guys out with anything that you may be concerned about or are a bit confused on. I'm always here, so don't be afraid to, hit me up and ask a question. I'm always happy to help. If you do get into the game, if you have started playing it, I do hope you enjoy the game. It is really good. It's really addictive. Whether it's retail or classic, I'm more on the side of classic, but retail is fun for the people that like what it has to offer. For me, I'm a bit more slow paced. That's how I like to do my things. But I appreciate everyone who came by, clicked on the video. You're all very much appreciated. If you haven't already, please do hit the like and subscribe button. It is very much appreciated for everyone that does do that. And again, I'm always happy to see comments, reply to comments. So any questions or you just want to leave a comment, feel free. I'm always happy to see those. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Treat yourself if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one. And maybe I'll see you around Azeroth questing. Who knows?